real estate really comes down to it's a relational business. You want to work with who you like, and real estate comes down to a personal relationship with your realtor. I think the technology is what's changing more so than brokerages nowadays. My mom was with Ruth Realty, a small firm, and we used to beat the big boys all day long. And I didn't think it had anything to do with that. They wanted to work with me. So it was more so the person, and 30 years ago that was true. Today, I think it's even more true.
Welcome to DIG's Influencer Podcast, the Titans of Real Estate. The show that provides direct access to the real estate industry's top movers and shakers as they share invaluable insight on how to best navigate and succeed in any market. I'm your host, Warren Dow, founder and CEO of M3 Media and publisher of DIGS Magazine. In this episode, Ruth Raine, Bill Ruth, Charlie Raine, and Carissa Wright. Thank you to our show sponsor, Bow Concept. Today we welcome to the DIGS Influencer Podcast a powerhouse team of agents, Bill Ruth, Charlie Raine, and Carissa Wright, better known in the South Bay as Ruth Raine. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Why don't we start with having you guys introduce yourself to our listeners so they have a sense of everyone's voice.
Hello, this is Bill Ruth.
And this is Carissa Wright.
And this is Charlie Raine.
All right. So before we talk real estate, let's get a brief backstory. And let me go back and say brief backstory on everyone. We'll start with Charlie. Where did you grow up, go to school?
The family moved to Palos Verdes when I was 5. So I went to Palos Verdes schools from kindergarten through high school, and then ended up at Long Beach State and Michigan State for college.
Bill.
I born and raised in Palos Verdes, K through 12 in Palos Verdes, and then went to USC and married a Bruin, and we moved back to PV, and so never really left.
Nice. Carissa.
I actually grew up in Texas outside of Austin, and then I moved to the Inland Empire when I was 12, and I've been kind of everywhere in Orange County, San Diego, Los Angeles, and then I moved to the South Bay about 8 years ago.
Awesome. So what were some of the favorite things you guys did as as young kids or young adults? What were some of the stuff you were into?
Palos Verdes is a great place to grow up because there was so much open space and so much fun to do. And back in the days, the one rule for kids was to be home before dark. And that was about the only rule. There were no cell phones or nothing else. So you could go surfing, horseback riding, bike riding, and everything all in the same day. And your parents didn't really care as long as you were home before dark. And so it was really, really a great place to grow up. And a lot of friendships are still today that people I grew up with.
How times have changed. I remember, Bill, I used to be outdoors all the time, and my mom would ring a bell, like literally, come home, time to, dinner time, and we'd be out all day.
Yeah. And if you weren't home by dark, you'd get whipped.
Yeah, you'd be in the DOG house for sure.
Just kidding, Mom.
What about you, Carissa?
I mean, I grew up in Texas, so it was same thing, just open outdoors, riding bicycles, just getting dirty. I loved the outdoors. I played a lot of sports, kept really busy with that.
Are you a Cowboys fan?
I don't really follow professional football, sorry.
All right.
That's basketball.
But I am a Longhorns fan. But I married a Trojan.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, unlike Carissa, but like you, we didn't have to shoot our dinner, but when dinner was ready, in our neighborhood, everybody had bells, just like you did. And you knew the sound of the bell, and that meant your dinner was ready and all the boys head home. But
That's great.
Yeah.
Wow, we're old.
We're dating ourselves, aren't we?
That's right.
So what about, I'm always curious, what was your first job, your very first job?
My first job was detailing cars. And we thought we were so good at it that we planned a trip to Hawaii in the summer, me and my buddy that opened this business called Catalina Car Care. And We didn't pay for our Hawaii trip. We had to borrow money from our parents. We never made any money, but we detailed a lot of cars and had a lot of fun.
That's cool.
Yep.
I worked at an ice cream store, so I scooped ice cream and made little bags of candy for people. It was a really cool little place where there were a lot of other high schoolers working, so it was a great experience and we had a lot of fun.
And I worked at a Texaco gas station at the Peninsula Center in Rolling Hills Estates. I think I was 15 and a half or so, and then I finally got my license and started trimming trees for the next 6 or so years.
That's awesome. Speaking of ice cream, I worked at Haagen-Dazs for a while in high school in Westside Village where I grew up. And I had the random opportunity to serve Mickey Rooney ice cream. He used to come in because he lived in the area. And so I was just always blown away, you know? He was larger than life and some crazy personality. It was fun.
We had Ben Harper's family. I don't know if you guys know Ben Harper, but his
course.
family owns the music shop next door to the ice cream store. So him and his family used to come in as kids, and his wife at the time. So that was always
That's cool.
really cool to see them too.
He talks about that in his career a lot too.
Yeah.
Like that was, the little...
Yeah, it's in the Claremont Village. There's all the colleges right there. It's a really cool downtown area. A lot of students, a lot of local families. But yeah, it's had a really cool vibe.
Very cool. So, did you guys have any early career aspirations? Did you want to be the king of the car wash, Bill? Like own 800 car washes across the U.S.?
Strictly being an entrepreneur and trying to make money. I always thought I wanted to be a doctor until I saw a car accident once and I fainted. And I ended up in the hospital. So
you're like...
not real good with seeing blood. And out of the 3 children I have, I fainted on 2 of them and ended up in the hospital with one of them because I hit my head when I fell down. So I knew that career wasn't going to go the right way. And I kind of got into real estate because it was a family business. My dad was in commercial real estate. My mom was in residential real estate. And I graduated from USC with a real estate finance degree and started working in commercial on the West Side. And then when we moved back down to Palos Verdes, I kind of looked at my mom and said, hey, how do you guys make money in this business? Can you make money in this business? Or what do you do? And that's how I ended up by chance in residential real estate. The commute. Couldn't handle the commute to West LA.
Good old commute, yep.
Yep.
I actually was the same. I grew up wanting to be a doctor, and I was pre-med in college. I did a hands-on internship in the hospital for 2 years, and I was scrubbed in for surgery to watch one day, and the surgeon, or it was the anesthesiologist, he asked me if I wanted to be married and have kids, and I said yeah, and he said don't become a doctor, it's not the right lifestyle for... It really weighed on me. I thought about it seriously for a couple of years, and I decided I wanted to have a different opportunity to spend more time at home with the kids I plan to have one day.
Cool.
Good.
Well, I'm proud to say that I stayed fully conscious for our daughter's wedding, and I'm embarrassed to say that I did pass out in the Lamaze class. So I had some growth as far as the seeing things that make some people pass out. And about 20 years ago, I started moonlighting lifeguarding for LA County. So I still do that 10 days a year, more for fun than anything else.
I want to hear more about that later. We'll circle back on some of this stuff. Let's talk about getting started in real estate. Bill, we heard your story. Carissa, how about you? How did you wind up here?
I worked in bank management for a number of years and did nonprofit management after that. And then when my daughter was born, same thing, I was commuting up to Brentwood, and I didn't like the commute once I had a newborn. And so my husband and I stayed up one night and we did this thing where I just made a list of everything that I liked. And real estate had always intrigued me. I remember growing up going to Blockbuster on Friday nights with my mom, and I would leave with every single house magazine that was there when you walk out the door. That was really what I was going there for. I didn't care about the movies. I was like rushing to the exit to get all the house magazines that had all the for sales listed.
Digs?
It wasn't
That was pre-Digs.
Yeah.
Just Blockbuster threw it off.
And yeah, it aged me. And I would go home and I would sit and I would scour it. I would just go through all the houses, and I loved it. And so when my husband and I made this list, real estate was definitely something that we talked a lot about. And so I decided to pursue my license, and he's in construction, and we thought it would be a nice little marriage work-wise with him being a general contractor and me getting into real estate. And I found I really loved it. It kind of blended all of the operations and management experience I had and allowed me to get into other homes, tour them, learn about them, learn the market.
Charlie, similar to Bill, my mom was in residential real estate since I was probably in elementary school, so going back to the very early days. And my dad was in commercial real estate. I had wanted for many, many years, since I was probably early junior high school, wanting to go in the real estate business, and I was very focused on doing that. Ended up at Michigan State, which has one of the top programs in the country for HRI, which is Hotel, Restaurant, Institutional Management, and started working with a company called the Elephant Bar. Went there, traveled around the country a little bit with them, and didn't like staying up till 3 in the morning. That was really the thing that sort of got me out of it. And sort of fell back, came here, back to Palos Verdes when my dad passed away, and got my real estate license, and that was about 30 years ago. And ended up, I did residential from the beginning, and stayed basically in the South Bay the whole time.
It was 33 years ago, Charlie.
It was a long time ago. Actually, counting now, it was 35 years ago.
Okay,
When I
35.
came
Wow.
back, yeah.
There you go. So Bill and Charlie, what prompted you guys to join forces? Like, when did you make that decision? Why did you make that decision?
You know what? I'm going to parlay this over to Charlie because it was his decision, not mine. And I'm happy I did it, but he kind of started the impetus to get together on a specific listing. So.
It started with a really spectacular piece of property in Rolling Hills. And I had sold a client this land, and he put a house on it, and he was with a big apparel company and had planned on retiring back to this house. He was living out of state. Planned on retiring back to the house. He left a message on my office voicemail, which very specifically states, don't leave a message here, call my cell phone. And I happened to pick up that message a few days later and listened to it. And he said, I'm going to be out of my office for lunch until 1:15. I'm available between 1:15 and 2:42. Give me a call, and I want to talk to you about listing my house because I'm not coming back to California. And so I picked this up on Sunday night, which is about 3 days later, and called Bill. He said, well, it's too bad you didn't call me earlier. I've got 3 people lined up, and if you want to come in, I'll see you Tuesday morning at 7:30. Okay, I'll be there. And then I called Bill, and I asked him if he was one of the 3 people that was going to make a proposal on this listing. He said, no, I don't know anything about it. I said, great, let's team up. So we teamed up, and we were against, at the time, it was sort of the top teams and individuals in Palos Verdes for houses, and we ended up getting the listing, and we sold it within about a week. And it was the highest price until about 2 years ago. So it lasted a good 10 or 12 years as the highest sales price in Palos Verdes. Actually, South Bay for quite a while. And then we had another one not too long after that we teamed up to get, and we just decided it worked out very well. We get along great. We went to high school together. We enjoy each other's sense of humor, and in my case, Bill's lack of.
I thought you could say we played water polo together, we were athletes, all that good kind of stuff.
Yeah,
No?
We were athletes, and I'm speaking more of myself. Bill was a tennis player, and I'm not sure if that's what he was for.
So circle back around to try to answer your question. We still don't know how it works. We don't have anything written down. It's a handshake deal. And I think the most unique thing between Charlie and I is just the integrity between the two of us, that we would never lose a client or a deal or each other's friendship over a real estate deal. And it's too important, too significant, and our reputation is at stake. So that's really what was the driving force behind us. And I think we're probably into this 7 or 8 years now. And
Closer to 10.
Okay, 10, but it's really worked well just because I think the respect and the trust and just the dedication to the real estate industry that we both have, and it works as a partnership because of our backgrounds and our similar interests going forward for our clients.
Well, it's also unique, and you guys were kind of
Very.
groundbreaking in the sense that you have different brokerages, which is not very unusual. Three
different.
Well, now,
brokers, yeah,
and
with
I'm going to get
Carissa.
to Carissa now joining here, but it started as two different, which is sort of, not the norm by any stretch, right?
Right.
Well, I don't want to rain on Chris's parade, but I'll tell you how Bill and I came to really decide we wanted her to join us. Carissa and her husband Ian, who's a really, really good local builder, had looked at a piece of property that we have in Rolling Hills for sale. And they came up, they looked at it, they really liked it. I think back at that time they made an offer on the property and didn't quite work out. And about 6 months later, her husband Ian followed up and wanted to meet with us and the seller. And he had done all this due diligence on the property, had done much more than any of us had as far as designing a potential house on the property, and wanted to know how he could make it work. And we just felt, Bill and I, with the professionalism that Carissa had and the character that Ian showed and that they showed throughout the process, coming up and meeting with us, and you could just tell they were great, great people. She's very sharp, and Bill and I talked and said, they're really good, and we're sort of missing something with our team, and Carissa, in our minds, fills that void. And Bill and I talked, and we said, absolutely. We totally agreed, and we approached her and asked her to join us.
Oh, I thought the missing thing was our hairline. No?
That's curable.
Oh, okay.
And not having Carissa is not.
Blonde hair, yeah. Okay, sorry.
That's great. So that's really, you guys think it's an advantage when you go to market? Now there's you get 3 for the price of 1.
Absolutely. I mean, it's really unprecedented in the industry that we have 3 different brokerages. And I, to be honest with you, I don't think our brokerages are thrilled about it, that we're doing this independently. I mean, they would like to see all of us in the same team in one brokerage. And that's not going to happen specifically because it is the best for our client. When you have 3 of the top companies and 3 top realtors out there supporting you, it cannot be beat in any industry. So it's very unique.
Yeah, it is. Well, that's great. So I want to go back a little bit on what was your first sale? I'm always curious, it was before you guys hooked up, right?
Our first sale? Oh,
You're
yeah.
very, individually.
To be clear, we never hooked up.
Okay. let me use a proper, let me back that up.
The proper term of partners?
Yes.
We regressed.
We want to clarify, right? I'm not talking about hookup. We're talking about when you guys, joined forces. Before that.
Our very first sale?
Yeah. What was
together.
your first? No. Before you guys.
My
partnered.
first sale, when we moved back to Palos Verdes and I talked to my mom about getting into real estate, I said, how do you make money in this? And I went 6 months without an income and thought it was the stupidest decision I'd ever made. And my first sale happened to be on Via Navajo in Palos Verdes Estates, and it was $1.4 million. And back in the day, that was a huge amount of money, almost as much money as I made the previous year on one sale. And that's when, I kind of got in the right, okay, you can figure this thing out and realize that if you work hard, that it can be a pretty lucrative career. And I think it was another 6 months beyond that until I made my second sale. So it wasn't easy getting into the business, but now I think, as you think, most of our business is referral or repeat business. And we've been blessed that we've got some great clients that keep referring us, so it keeps the wheel greased.
That's great. Carissa, how about you?
My first sale, I actually signed my first listing agreement the day after I got my license. And it was a friend's investment property in Playa del Rey. And got it sold really quickly. And then didn't sell anything for, a year and a half maybe. It was a long dry spell after that. And then finally, same thing, all the work I had put in that year, because I had a lot of free time that year after that first sale, then all of a sudden I started to have more transactions.
Cool.
I got my license a few years before Bill, and I don't recall what the first house was that I sold, but I knew my goal was to try and somehow get into the $1 million club. which had nothing to do with the amount of commissions you made. It happened to do with the total volume of sales you made. And I thought, well, that'd be so neat someday. So it probably took me a couple of years to get that, because my intent, my mom sold real estate Palos Verdes, as did Bill's mom at the time. And I thought, well, I'm going to start in San Pedro. Then I can just sell a whole bunch of houses. You know, I'll do volume and number of houses, and I'll be all experienced, and I can go to Palos Verdes. So I worked out of the San Pedro office for a couple of years, and then moved to an office in Nolan Hills Estates.
That's awesome. I love to learn about first sales, because I have such great respect for what you guys do. It's a very hard, difficult profession. You're basically out of business, you know, like routinely. You don't have listings or don't have buyers. You go 6 months without anything. So as an entrepreneur myself, I have great respect, because that's not easy to navigate. And it's you know, and everyone on the outside looking in sees the big commission checks and say, oh, it's so easy, you know, list that $10 million house, get paid a bunch of money, and just go get the next one. Well, welcome. Come on and try it. Like, let's get your license.
Every morning you wake up unemployed in this business. Yeah. You got to make it work.
Yeah. I sold insurance right out of college, like life insurance, as a 21-year-old. Talk about, you know, like
sink or swim.
And I love challenges. So I'm like, you know what? They told me when I started, 9% or 99 people are going to fail out of 100. And I'm like, all right, I want to be the one.
Yeah.
Like, what do I have to do? Give me the phone book, start calling.
That's the attitude you have to have every day in sales.
Yeah. So anyway, let's change this up a bit. Let's have a little fun. I always like to know, what's the funniest, craziest thing that has happened to you guys thus far in your career? Because, you know, as you guys know, you know, as the owner of Digs, I get the luxury and benefit of getting to know all you guys and hearing these stories, especially, you know, from Westside to South Bay. And I've heard some doozies. So it's a wild and crazy world of real estate. So tell the audience, tell me some stories.
I got one for sure. And it was actually goes back to my first house. And even to back up before that, I thought a bestseller book, hands down, would be Realtor Stories, because there are some of the best, funniest, inspiring stories out there that we come across on a daily basis. But my Navajo place, there's a Navajo place and a Navajo street. And I made an appointment. I was nervous as heck, didn't know where this house was. I drove to it the day before, saw it, made sure everything was working. My lockbox back then was a key, so no problem. I spoke with the owner. She said the front door will be open, come on in. So I'm with my client, and
I can see where this is going.
Yep, walk right in the house, 2-story house. We're downstairs for 20 minutes, then we go upstairs, and I kind of hear the shower running, and I go like, oh, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't go in there. You know, there's a shower running, and she knows we're here, and so I just wanted to, you know, we're in the house now. I said, you know, like, do we let them know, or do we get out, or what do we do? So she says, who is it? And I said, well, it's Bill Ruth. It's Bill Ruth. And she goes, who? I go, it's Bill Ruth, the realtor. Bill Ruth. And she goes, who are you? Get out of my house. I'm calling the police. And she starts screaming. I go, it's Bill Ruth. You know, I want to make, I go, well, maybe I shouldn't stop saying my name. You know, I'm telling her who it is. We were in the wrong house. Front door was open, and we had been in there for 25 minutes while this woman's upstairs in the shower. We were on Navajo Place, not Navajo Street. So, always know your places and your streets.
Minor detail, right?
Yeah, details. And needless to say, we didn't go look at the next house. We were done.
Oh my gosh.
A rattled realtor.
That's great.
Yep.
I have something similar where I was showing properties, and the listing agent had said that the homeowner would be gone when we arrived. So I used my Supra to open the lockbox and went inside, and we're walking around, and we walk into the bathroom, and there's a older man getting out of the shower, blow drying his hair.
In all his glory.
We didn't hear it.
In all his glory.
But yeah, he was like, oh, I thought you guys were going to be here a little bit later. It's all right. She didn't have the house, though.
You can edit mine out. Mine, actually, the one I was thinking of was similar to Bill's, and that was, I called this woman and I scheduled an appointment to come to preview her house, and you know, it's like half an hour away from then. So there's no question like when I was going to be there, and I go there, and I open the door, knock, knock, nothing. Open the door, going, hi. And I look around downstairs, I go upstairs, and the shower's running there. It was weird.
Lots of naked people.
I did have another one where for a time back in, this had to be late 80s, I'm guessing, I was doing a lot of bank repos, and I was the guy that went out and checked out the houses to make sure if they were still occupied, because the bank had taken them back. They wanted to know what the occupancy was, what the issues were, if I could get inside of them. And I got chased off with a gun one time. I was threatened to kill me. I'm sure it was all in good fun.
See, it's a dangerous business.
It's dangerous. So I got to join the fun because I've got, in the good old days when I had time, I used to go to all of our cover shoots because I love the cover. I love the whole, that whole scenario of shooting the cover and with our cover photographer. And we were in PV one time doing a cover shoot, and we always do it at twilight. Mm-hmm. And we were at one of these homes up on the wall here, and it was going to be listed at about $12.5 million. Gorgeous estate, PVE. And our photographer, we get there and we're getting ready, and there's a gentleman in the front yard with like torn shorts, torn t-shirt, tennis shoes, and and our photographer thought he was like the landscaper.
Oh, no.
And was saying, hey, bring this over here, move this over there, ordering this poor guy around. And then he says, who are you? And he's like, I'm the owner of the house. And we're like, oops, sorry.
That's PV for you.
Yeah, so we're like, oh, geez. But yeah, totally, you never know, right?
You never know.
So getting off to the bad start with the owner.
Yeah.
Let me run around here. So, Bill, is it true that you were on Dancing with the Stars?
Really? Are we going to go there?
We found out.
Oh gosh.
Our team, our investigative
I've been
team.
outed. Yes, I was asked to do that for a couple years in a row, and said no. I'm not a dancer. I don't have the time. And then was taken to lunch by two very pretty girls, and they fed me a beer and made me say yes. And I did it. It was for charity, mind you, so it was a good cause. But yeah, I did it, and glad it was over, but also glad I did it. I met a lot of really neat people, and it was a fun event.
That's cool.
So.
Who would have thought? And Charlie, you were or are still a lifeguard, right?
Yeah, still do that.
So did you ever save anyone? Do you have any crazy
No life-threatening rescues. Never had to do CPR.
No Baywatch moments where you go rescue?
A lot of rescues. A lot of ocean rescues, pulling people out of rips, things like that. Tons of first aid, so I'm out of my pass-out stage when I see blood. I see plenty when I'm at work there. But yeah, it's just an enjoyable thing to do. I do master swimming 5 days a week, 6 days a week sometimes. And it's sort of a nice segue because a lot of the guys and girls that I swim with are lifeguards as well.
My youngest son is in junior lifeguards. He does that. So we're encouraging that. It's awesome.
Awesome. Yeah. Great program.
It's a great skill to have.
Yeah.
Yep.
Looking for a personal stylist for your home? Check out Beau Concept. One of their design consultants can help you make the most out of your space. No request is too big or small for living, dining, sleeping, home office, and outdoor spaces. And check out their Southern California showrooms in Orange County and Costa Mesa, and also in Los Angeles and La Brea. For more information, visit Beau Concept at beauconcept.com. Email info@beauconcept.la. So Carissa, unfortunately, I have no dirt on you. I mean,
Really
how
good.
much do you guys have? Do you guys have any dirt? She can't.
Bloodshot eyes still have a story.
We heard the story about last night, but we're not going to go back there.
Exactly. Thank you, Bill and Charlie.
Jeez.
All right, so we have nothing on. So note to self: we gotta dig up some stuff on Carissa.
There's no dirt. I'm clean as can be.
Wow,
All right,
she
so
says it with a
I think I
straight
know
face.
the answer to this question for two of you at least. What is your favorite city in the South Bay? I think I know the answer.
I mean, hands down for me, it's Rolling Hills, and not just because I live there, but it is a sense of, when you drive in those gates, that it's you leave the hustle and bustle of LA behind you. And one of the beauties about living in the South Bay has so much to offer, but also being here my entire life, you do feel, the streets that you used to run down, or now there's 14 stop signs and 16 signals and, crosswalks and everything else. It's just the people encompassing a lot of people in a smaller area. So when you drive in Rolling Hills and you see the large lots and the open views and the vistas, to me, it's really special. And it's just a very calming effect to come home and realize that, I've arrived. So I would.
Are you guys on the same page? Rolling Hills?
Totally.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, Rolling Hills to me, like the first time I got back behind the gates, I was dumbfounded. I'm blown away. I mean, like, is this really in the South Bay?
Yeah, very few people even in the South Bay know that it exists.
No, totally. And even out of the
including realtors.
Yeah. But like even, on the West Side, it's still the best kept secret, private gated community, that has acreage and ocean views. It's like Carmel.
Yeah.
I went into Rolling Hills for the first time a year and a half ago. I had never been back there. And we started looking for property in Palos Verdes. We were living in Redondo Beach. We had a cute little bungalow, but we knew we wanted more space because we have 4 kids. And so we went behind the gates to look at Fort Poppy Trail, the piece of land that we tried to buy. Didn't work out. But we drove back there and we were just dumbfounded. We could not. My husband had been there once and I had never been back there. And we looked at many more properties in Palos Verdes and nothing gave us the same feel that we found in Rolling Hills. And we're like, we have to be here. We'll do whatever it takes to live back here because it's just, I drive behind the gate every day and I can take a deep breath. It just like life slows down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's really special.
I remember we moved from the beach to Palos Verdes, and in the beach, you literally leave your door open. The neighbor comes over with a bottle of wine. You have a barbecue. The kids are in and out. There's sand all over. It was really a great lifestyle. And then when we moved to Rolling Hills, I thought we had made the biggest mistakes of our lives. We had no neighbors. We didn't see anybody. You couldn't ride your bikes. I'm like, oh, did we blow it? And then as the kids got a little bit older, we realized that, hey, we all of a sudden had the cool house where all the kids wanted to come because we have a basketball court and we have a pool and we have, the big open spaces where the kids can run around and play. And it really became kind of the mecca for all the kids to hang out. And I loved seeing my friends' kids, and much more so is meeting their parents to see who they were hanging out with. And it really became an asset as they got older too. And they still use the house today like they did when they're younger, always having people over, and it's really a blessing.
Or do you live behind the gates too, Charlie?
I live in Rolling Hills.
So all 3 of you guys.
I'm 3 houses away from where I grew up. And fortunately, between the house I grew up and the house I live in now, there's Carissa and Ian and their 4 children. And it's wonderful to see young families moving in and enjoying the neighborhoods, like especially our neighborhood, like I did when I was a kid. We had tons of kids there at the time, and it's really fun to see balls out in the yard and
Jeeps in the grass.
Yeah, kids holding up
motorcycles on the horse trails.
So
just kidding. Just
so
kidding.
you guys, I mean, that's a huge competitive advantage. I mean, I want to talk about the market, the real estate market of Rolling Hills in a second, but the fact that you guys live there, I mean, you know every nook and cranny. Give us, the audience, what's 3 things, or as many as you can name, that people don't know about Rolling Hills, even if they think they know about it?
Okay, I'll tell you the first that we probably shouldn't be saying on a podcast. Nobody locks their doors.
Well, at least you can't get back there. So,
well, it is. I mean, absolute security is it's very safe back there. There's zero crime. Now, of course, as soon as you say that, something's going to happen. But there's no crime. There's no traffic. There's clean air. It's super quiet. At night, it's dark enough where you get to see all the stars and plenty of open space with trails. There's lighted tennis courts to play tennis. There's 3 riding rings for horses, and people are just active. They're outside doing stuff all the time, and to me, those are kind of some of the biggies. You guys?
You named 11 things.
Well, he said as many as you want.
I said many. If you got more, you can keep rolling.
Keep going.
Well, I'm going to take
Pun intended.
because there's only 2 riding rings in the city. But
All right.
where Charlie and I live in Rolling Hills, we actually have access to the hiking trails in the nature reserve right underneath Del Cerro Park. So I think that's really special. I take my dog out there, but your dog can't be off leash over there, as I learned the hard way last weekend when I got a ticket.
Yeah, and that's another beauty of
That's
Rolling
another thing
Hills.
about Rolling Hills. Yeah, your dogs are off leash.
No
My
leash
dog-
laws.
My dog roams around.
That's cool.
And
Lots of
the result of that
chickens.
is that all the dogs are friendly, believe it or not. Everybody thinks that,
They're
with no
friendly
leash
with
laws.
Each other. They're not so friendly with the chickens.
Well, that's a dog
We
eat dog
also
world.
had to learn the hard way.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the real estate, because in my mind, Rolling Hills is still a crazy bargain when you compare it to homes on the west side.
We all agree.
And look at Manhattan Beach, like the Strand, right? If you took the largest lot, if you don't have a double, is 5,000
Yeah.
square feet, right?
Yeah.
And you're going to pay today, minimally 3.5, 4 million,
On the Strand.
5 million for that lot, for the lot.
Yeah.
At least.
Probably north of
So
that.
think about-
I think 7. You're looking
Yeah.
for a lot.
So 5 to 7, what can you get behind the gates? You can get 5 acres and a full-blown panoramic
ocean view.
Catalina view.
5,000 square foot.
Yeah, I mean, it's
plus.
like, what's going on? Like, should we not tell everyone to keep it a secret, or is like, what?
Yeah, we're kind of
It's
mixed.
nice and as the word gets out. We're seeing a lot of people from the beach cities coming up there. Primarily, they have kids in Chadwick or another private school. We're seeing a lot of people moving up from Hermosa and Manhattan Beach that are finding out about it. Tired of fighting the parking. We have no parking restrictions in Rolling Hills. Typically, our driveways leading into the houses are bigger than the lots in Manhattan Beach or Hermosa Beach.
Literally.
It's just a great place. There's no street lights. You drive in the city at night and all the cares go away. You leave it all behind you.
It's its own incorporated city, right, with its own police and fire,
1957.
right?
No and no.
No.
Oh, no and
yes,
no?
Yes, it's a incorporated city, gated city, which is one of like 3 in America.
Okay,
But they share police and fire with LA County.
okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
And what's the HOAs back there? Like, what do you if you buy?
20 cents per $100 of assessed value, which equates to $2,000 per $1 million
Per million
of
So
assessed value.
it's inexpensive.
annually,
I mean,
which
it's
is
just not a lot.
It's like a condo association fee.
Yeah.
Very inexpensive.
and not for all the amenities that you're getting back there. I mean,
Right.
right. With
We have miles and miles and miles of trails that can be used for hiking, jogging, horses, not bikes or motorcycles, but lots of trails. If you go back to the property that Carissa and Ian first came and looked at, that property is 7 acres. It's $1.5 million. It's got 2 streams on it.
is it still for sale?
Still for sale.
Can I
Amazing.
can I
you
somehow
need-
get
you
it
need a
but not
broker?
pay for all that
It is
stuff? I would love to live behind the
You
gates.
can
That's
sell the water. We're in the drought. You can harvest and sell the
No,
water.
we're not in a drought anymore, actually.
That's true.
Can you guys give me a personal carry that thing for 50 years for me?
Absolutely. We say yes to everything.
We can.
I'd say, just back to Rolling Hills, another really unique thing in Rolling Hills is people don't move. They stay in their houses typically until they pass away. And so it's not uncommon that you can have people in their houses for 30, 40, 50, even 60 years. And Charlie and I recently had a house where they did the new addition on the house. The new addition to their house was done in 1963.
Oh,
Wow.
And it was like, okay. So as you see turnover happen in Rolling Hills, it is typically very young families with a lot of kids. So the turnover is good. And there's an older population up there now. And each time we see these houses turn, we're seeing a younger generation come. And many times they have grown up in the city. So they understand, all the benefits and the pluses of living back there behind the gates.
So check this out. I got the stats. I love stats, right? I'm always we're crunching numbers here at Diggs and looking at year over year and blah blah. This is the last 10 years in Rolling Hills, and what's crazy is, last 10 years, average number of units sold behind the gates
24.
About 20ish, right? And if you look at the average list price, sold price, it's 2-3 million when you compare to the other cities. Granted, since 2014 February, median prices are up about 31%, but still, the average sale price last year was about 3.8, and it has an asterisk because of the big one that I want to talk about, the 22. But so it's still 3 million-ish low. and it's a smoking deal. I mean, that's like it's
For the South.
The three of us often have this conversation with our clients that we feel that Rolling Hills is undervalued by almost 50% for what it should be in Rolling Hills and all the amenities that are offered in that city. 50% undervalued.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the max sale, just it's 6 million, 7 million, 8 million, 6 million, 6 million, 7 million, 7. Those are, if you go to the Westside, I mean, there's $100, $200 million homes. Now, they're spec homes are not selling per se, but 30, 40 million all day long, 20 million all day long. There might be 70 listings right now, I'm just guesstimating, that are over 15, 20 million on the Westside.
The hard part about that stat is that, like I spoke about earlier, people that are in their homes for 30, 40, 50 years, you got a one-story white ranch house, so it's not worth a lot at the end of the day that somebody's been into it, especially older people that haven't maintained it to position. The new properties that are being built are in that excess of 10, 15, $20 million range. Mm-hmm. Now, again, those people will stay in their home probably until they pass them away. They're very specific, very custom to their own needs. Maybe one guy wants the 10-car garage. Maybe another guy wants, we had a guy with a telescope, his own telescope. So they build them for themselves. Mm-hmm. And then when they pass away, so some of those $6, $7, $8 million could be lot sales that they're putting very expensive homes on. The expensive new customs homes that they're building don't come on the market.
What's the biggest parcel of land that someone owns behind the gates?
70 acres.
70?
Mm-hmm. Owned by one family.
Wow.
And a unique story about that is the family that owns that 70 acres bought a home, a very small home at the very bottom of by the main gate. And while they're going to live in this temporary house, while they built their large home up there, got busy with kids, had 4 daughters, and busy with work and everything. That 70 acres still sits there. One daughter built a house up there, but it's still pretty much untouched. And the mom and dad stayed in that house that they originally bought as a temporary house for
That's amazing.
60-something years.
If you would have asked me that question, I would have said like 15 acres. 70? No, you can't subdivide that or anything, right? You can't. You can?
Yeah.
They did amongst the 3 daughters, but they had, my mom was on the planning commission at the time when they did the subdivision, and I don't know why they required it so big, but the second lot that one of the daughters has, I think is like 30 acres. I mean, it's massive.
That's just wild.
Yeah.
Mind blown.
You can go down to 2 acres in the city.
Yeah.
2-acre minimums.
I don't want to give the wrong idea that we strictly do Rolling Hills, because we have listings all over Palos Verdes. We've sold property in the beach cities as well, Torrance. We kind of are all over the place. It just happens to be that we live in Rolling Hills. In fact, one of the reasons we brought in Carissa is because she's sort of everything that Bill and I are not. She's young, she's got young kids, she knows a whole different dynamic of socialize with a different dynamic of people than we do. And primarily, the other reason is a lot of people from Palos Verdes that we run into that are downsizing are going towards the beach cities, and Carissa is there to fill that need. And she's based at Beach City Brokers in Redondo Beach.
Yep. So I have my office is in the Riviera Village. I have a private office that I share with my husband. Like I said earlier, we lived in Redondo Beach, in South Redondo, for a number of years. So my older 2 kids are still enrolled in school there. And that's really where my sphere of influence has been the last number of years. I'm on the board of directors for Sandpipers, which is a women's philanthropy group here in the South Bay. And most women in Sandpipers are based in the beach cities, so Manhattan, Hermosa, Redondo. So
and we heard they love to drink red wine.
Sandpipers do love wine. It's just part of
Known
it.
fact.
It's a known fact. If you go in Sandpipers, you like to give back and drink a little bit of wine while you're doing it.
So let's talk about the real estate market. Typically, real estate cycles last 8 to 10 years-ish, right? Where do you guys think we are?
Way past that. But also, I think that we've conferred that we're in a very strong real estate market, and mostly because the economy is so strong. There's jobs out there, there's people working, there's companies investing, consumer confidence is way up. Interest rates, in the media are up, but they're actually down about less than they were a year ago today. So you can get a jumbo rate still in the very low 4s. And that's important in our market because the most of the loans are jumbos. And we feel real bullish on the real estate market in the South Bay. And this will probably continue pretty much status quo throughout this year. The Fed came out and said that they won't be raising rates anymore this year. I mean, that gave a lot of confidence to buyers out there. And we're seeing prices increase a little bit, but sales down a little bit. But we're real bullish on the real estate market.
Yeah, I agree with Bill. Despite the news that we hear, what we see, through the multiple listing service, the sales, the listings, how long houses stay on the market, we're seeing every bit as much activity as we did a year ago or 2 years ago. It's a very strong market.
You guys think the South Bay has its sort of its own bubble in terms of its own micro market, in terms of
Absolutely.
pricing?
I would say not just the South Bay. I think you see a couple bubbles. You see the beach cities just skyrocketing.
Yeah,
Riviera,
still, yeah.
Hollywood Riviera, Manhattan, Hermosa. They've all had their days of the sunshine have been somewhat endless the last number of years. Palos Verdes has been slower to catch up and take on that same activity level, but I think it's, for the most part, it's there right now.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
It's a good,
I think
strong market.
that bubble cocoon, if you will, is getting stronger because all the wealth that continues to move into the South Bay. We're getting wealthier as a community in terms of just the dollars that are changing hands, the dollars that are coming in. These are, it's not sort of the legacy original homeowner. It's Wall Street and hedge fund guys coming in and paying what they want to pay because that's the value that they see.
That's a mixed bag, I think. For me personally, I don't like, maybe don't like's not the right thing, but when the market is more stagnant, or even when it's down, it's an opportunity for young families and for new life to come into a community. So the high end getting higher is not always a good thing.
Yeah.
It's, it cuts out a large segment of the population that I think could enjoy what the South Bay has to offer.
I think another part of that too is the conservative wealth in the South Bay, that a lot of people aren't so far leveraged out that if there was a little glitch that they would lose their home or something, that they have money in the bank, there's money to back it up. So there's a longer staying power with them.
It's a great point.
Pretty unique for the South Bay.
Unlike in the Westside, you see a lot of leverage. I mean, a lot.
Right.
The home prices you have to, but South Bay, the sleepy little town, is not so sleepy in terms of being on the sort of international radar now for wealthy, affluent, buyers of real estate.
Right.
But it comes with the good and the bad, right? So I agree. I think the middle class in the South Bay, it's like, is there one? Like, how do you move up? How do you, if you've lived here, how do you sell and move up?
How do you make that jump?
How do you do it?
Actually, an interesting article in LA Times a couple weeks ago that talked about most everybody in the South Bay could afford a Rolls Royce, but the preferred car is a Suburban. And I think that's true.
Or a golf cart.
They're not, or a golf cart, yeah, or a bicycle.
Right.
You get there faster. But there's conservative wealth, I think.
I have just one interjection since she had a little bit of extra knowledge. Housing starts or builds or development kind of related to your husband's background? Is there any difference there or something?
Like, how does your husband see from a developer builder? Is he seeing it still rosy? Like, let's develop, let's go?
Construction costs have increased dramatically recently. I mean, they've really skyrocketed. So I would say the cost of construction right now is actually really high just to offset the material cost.
What is it to build? Is it like 200 a square foot? More?
No,
Way
it's
more?
more.
Like 300?
5.
Really?
I would say to do a really good job, a builder's going to want 500. I mean, they could probably do it for 300, but
Wow.
Nothing you'd want to live in.
It's not the kind of construction you're going to want for the South Bay, honestly.
So when I bought my home in 1999, I was lucky. I still own my home. When we were thinking about doing a new home build, it was like 100, maybe 130, 150. So you talk about appreciation. That's way more than the home prices have appreciated.
That 150 won't get you an apartment quality construction anymore.
So it's 500.
We've seen raw materials go through the roof, and a lot of it has to do with the recent fires in California. So all of those houses, thousands of homes that were wiped out now.
Tens of thousands, yeah.
Tens of thousands. They're all needing lumber, steel, concrete, roofs.
Yeah.
I mean, they need everything that we need here in the South Bay too. So not only are contractors a lot busier, and a lot of them not doing remodels anymore, they're only doing new construction because of the demand for them, but the subs, everything has gone up. So the hard costs, I think, are in excess of $500 a foot, but your soft costs also have gone way, way up as far as the subcontractors, the fire department involvement, getting involved. We've got real strict regulations with the fire department. So the housing build costs from start have gone through the roof, where it used to be cheaper to build a home in a lot of cases. Not that way anymore.
Well, and then on top of that, you just have probably, since those homes were built, different regulations have changed or updated, or
Completely.
Fire codes have changed, and now we need to have defensible space or something like that.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
we had a couple properties developed in Rolling Hills. They created 2 lots out of one piece of property, compacted, rebuilt it, did everything, put the driveways up to the pads, sold the first one about a year later, and buyer comes to find out that the fire department regulations have changed, and now the driveways have to be 20 feet wide. So it's a completely created pad, and things change meanwhile.
And the thought behind that is so 2 fire trucks can pass each other going up and down your own driveway on your own space. Now, 20-foot wide driveway for a long period, that's a lot of dirt. And with the turnaround at the top, so they don't have to back up, that they can turn around a fire truck without backing up. It's changed design dramatically.
Let's kind of round table, and you got to get to a Dodger game.
I do, opening day.
You lucky dog. Advice for buyers today: wait, go. What should they do?
Always go. I mean,
Okay.
there is always a good time to buy. We did say this market has to slow down 7 years ago, and it has not. It has continued to go. If you bought 7 years ago, you'd be the happiest guy in the world. I mean, I think, again, today, the South Bay is such a phenomenal place to live. Our weather, our activities, our outdoors, the people. I mean, it's just really, really unique, and any time is a good time to buy. You know, and you can't predict the market. I mean, we wouldn't be sitting here today if we could do that, but absolutely a great time to buy.
Is it still 2-3 to 1 demand side versus supply? Like the demand, do you think there's 3 buyers for every listed home today? Is that like a...
All comes down to price.
Yeah.
I think everything comes down to price, but yeah, there is a demand to.
So for sellers, it's a great time to list, right? I mean,
Yeah.
so...
Problem is they don't have the up leg to buy. So
Right.
a lot of times sellers want to put their house on the market because they can get a lot of money for it. They have no place to go. Literally, they can't find a property to buy. And so a lot of them are staying put.
So what's going to trip this market up?
Well, interest rates are trying to trip it up somewhat, and I think failing. Property taxes, the changes in the tax code are trying to trip it up, and that hasn't done it. But because the economy's so good, it seems like there's really nothing that has affected it, and it's not skyrocketing. It's a fairly stable market, and I think that's good for everybody. It's good for planning in the future. If a buyer needs to move to the area, they shouldn't fear buying. The only thing a buyer should fear, and ideally nobody gets in this situation, is really it's when you sell, because there's always the cycles, right? So you're gonna buy. If you don't have to sell if the market's down, then you never have to lose when you buy real estate.
Industry has been consolidating. You guys were all aware of the Compasses of the world and Brokerages in the South Bay, all the consolidation here. How important is a brokerage name today versus 10 years ago?
Not as important. Real estate really comes down to it's a relational business. You want to work with who you like. And real estate comes down to a personal relationship with your realtor, regardless of that brokerage. I think the technology is what's changing more so than brokerages nowadays. And my mom was with Ruth Realty, a small firm, and we used to beat the big boys all day long. And I didn't think it had anything to do with that. They wanted to work with me. So it was more so the person, and 30 years ago that was true. Today, I think it's even more true. You work with a referral, you work with a friend, you work with somebody you know and you like. If they work for ABC Realty or XYZ Realty, that's secondary. I think the support is always there, or a top broker wouldn't be working for that firm. So the top brokers are with good firms and have the background and the support of their companies, but it's not the overriding factor in who you're working with.
Totally agree. I could
Thank
care
you.
less that I'm with Remax as the company. I really trust and appreciate my broker and the stability. I've been there for 25 years, give or take, but the name of the company means nothing to me. It's the people that are there and the support that stands behind that matters.
Yep.
So consumers are obviously getting way more educated, sophisticated with the online and the data and everything that's available. Are they getting more difficult? I know this is a difficult question, but difficult in the sense that if you're getting a listing and they say, hey, Bill, Charlie, Carissa, my home's worth, here's what my home's worth. It's worth 3.7. Now I'm the homeowner telling you. And I here's my sheet. I got his estimate and I got this and I got that. And it's like, is that becoming more challenging?
We literally just had this happen last week.
Yeah, but we actually love it because it really puts our value proposition that much higher. And that's why you need a good realtor, is to say, combat the Zestimate. I mean, Zestimates, by their own admission, are off 20%. Now, in the South Bay, they're off a lot more than 20%. And high or low, Zillow has never been to your house and looked at your house, nor the neighbor's house or the proximity.
Driven down the street. Yeah.
Yeah. So we like informed buyers. I mean, the more information they have, the better it is for us and our job. And it's nice to have that conversation starting at a higher level than it is from scratch and kind of educating them. Most of the buyers and sellers nowadays do know what they want to pay for a house because they've gone through the myriad of the internet and have their own predictions of what their house should sell for. But to us, I think it's a benefit.
Yeah, I think that was very well stated, because I think intrinsic value that you guys bring is this really, really, in-depth market knowledge. Algorithms are tough to capture that knowledge, at the street level, so to speak. You know what I mean? So I think that you guys are becoming more valuable with the technology. It's sort of counterintuitive, but
even for so is from Palos Verdes to the beach cities is Carissa's strength in the beach cities. And it's been such a nice 1-2 punch because we get the hill. Carissa gets the beach cities.
And they're different.
And we could easily do it, but if somebody's asking about an elementary school or a specific thing here or there or something, she's going to know in the beach cities. We're going to know in the hill. And because we have clients going back and forth so often, it's really been a nice segue. Segue? Okay. She said segue, so I'm going with that.
It's a great word, segue. Yes. Speaking of segue, let's segue.
Yes, segue.
Let's segue into some closing thoughts. Oh. We got to get Bill to that Dodger game. Let's have a little fun. Let's go. I'm going to just round robin, but I want to stay with you, Charlie, first.
Sure.
What's your favorite thing to cook?
Oh, gosh. Ricotta relleno.
That sounds amazing. What is it?
Went to Peru, got inspired, and I make it way better than they do. It's
wow.
What's in that dish?
I put dried cherries in everything
In
I cook.
everything he cooks.
That's your secret ingredient, huh?
And my lasagna,
Everything.
right?
Lasagna, meatloaf,
Cherries.
Beer.
chili,
All of it.
everything with dried cherries.
Stuffed bell peppers.
That's funny.
Favorite movie, Charlie?
Caddyshack.
Ooh, a good one. An oldie but goodie.
Yeah.
Favorite vacation spot?
Probably Bali.
Surf?
Body surf.
Nice.
Yes.
Good waves.
Very good.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
Carissa, favorite movie?
That's a tough one. I like Harold and Maude is actually one of my favorites. I don't know if I want to admit it out loud. I like quirky, weird movies.
What's your favorite thing to cook?
What's your favorite thing to reheat?
Oh, yeah.
What's your favorite thing to put in the microwave?
Reservations.
So I don't even know what I cook. Oatmeal currently.
Lucky husband.
All right, Bill, what's your favorite baseball team? Just kidding. Okay, we know that one.
Flair?
What's your favorite thing to cook?
My favorite thing to cook, we got a pizza oven recently. And so we've been doing pizzas every night.
Love it.
Buy the dough from Trader Joe's and throwing just about everything in the world on top of that dough. And it always tastes good. It's awesome.
I love pizza.
Yeah.
Favorite movie?
Airplane.
Airplane.
Yeah.
All right.
Another one.
Yeah,
So you
right
guys
up with Caddyshack.
got some
Since you
good
said that.
humorous
Because I
ones.
didn't want to say The Hangover.
Okay, so final thought. Tell the audience, Charlie, one thing about you that they would be super surprised to know or hear about you.
died, compete in Masters swimming.
Whoa.
I don't know.
Okay.
What is that? Master
It's
swim?
old people swimming. You have to be at least 19, and I am more than qualified for that.
But he also gets up at 4 a.m. every day
I
to
start
swim.
swimming at 5 o'clock,
Wow.
5 days a week.
He's
5 o'clock a.m.
not a real fun guy at happy hour. He has to go to bed.
So I crash early.
All
Yeah,
right.
I've competed for years and years. I mean, same Masters team for 25 years now.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Carissa.
Something unique.
Yes.
Maybe people would, I
Be
don't-
shocked, not shocked, surprised. to
I
hear.
think people are always surprised that I have 4 kids. I don't know. It's a lot, so I guess that's why. But yeah.
They're great kids.
Keeps you
we
busy.
have ages 2, 4, 9, and 11.
Wow. You're busy.
Busy.
It's
Yeah.
radio, so you can't tell that she's looks like a 16-year-old with blonde hair.
Thank you. I'll take it.
A smart one.
The hurtful part is she has hair.
That was
Bill and I are.
that was a compliment, by the way.
So-
Huge compliment.
Thank you.
Me?
Yeah, you're up.
Okay.
You're
All right. Some of the people that know that I raced to Catalina on water ski over and back in less than an hour.
whoa.
No.
That's
Yours
crazy.
is so
Rare
much
and weird.
cooler than mine.
Did you see anything? Any shark fins? Any?
Oh yeah, we should see it all. Whales, dolphins, pods, going through pods of hundreds of dolphins, and they hear the boat, so they move out of the boat. But you're 250 feet behind the boat, and they don't hear you. So dolphins are going right in front of you. Literally have jumped dolphins
So would an hour there and back, or is that what you said?
there and back in an hour,
Oh my god.
under an hour.
That's crazy.
58
And that's hard on
minutes.
your arms too, like kind of like a motorcycle, right?
It's hard on
like
everything.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
keep it.
It's not a real smart sport.
Yeah.
I'll admit it.
It's like being in the blender for an hour, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to thank Ruth and Raine, Bill Ruth, Carissa Wright, and Charlie Raine for coming to the Digs Influencer podcast. I think we all learned something about you and we had some fun. So, Bill, get to that Dodger game and you guys get back to work.
Thanks, Warren. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Warren.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Great.
Been great.
Awesome. And that wraps up this episode. Thank you for tuning in, and we hope you found some value. Please share, subscribe, and leave a review. Find us on iTunes and your favorite podcast provider. Until next time.